7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the morning drive. 103.5 FM.
On the stories making the headlines. Please stay with us. You're welcome back to newspaper headlines on EBEONADI103.5 FM. This morning, we are going to take you through the news making the headlines on The Guardian, Leadership, Vanguard, Punch, Daily Post, The Nation, This Day, and if time permits, we are also going to take a look at the Nigerian Tribune newspapers. Remember that you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS or WhatsApp messages on 080 6599. I am Martin. Let's get started with the Guardian newspaper this morning. Opeboro sets up 14-member panel to investigate Obaseki. Sanwo-Olu pledges good environment for businesses. O2 commits to national electrification mandate. US FDI inflow to Nigeria has increased, says Consul General. ESC lost detectives for rejecting 174 million naira bribe, recovering 10 million naira from commuters. Minister lists poor power supply, others as obstacles to business growth. Driver rescued after container crushes car on Apapa Road. Relatives of ex-Daily Trust editor regain freedom after abduction. Man remanded for allegedly defiling 4-year-old girl in Lagos. Loma to establish waste-to-energy plants in Ede, boost recycling efforts. Kogi governor holds emergency meeting after alleged killing sparks tension. Court strikes out 8.4 billion naira, $11.1 million oil spill compensation suit against Mobil. Niger committed to reducing post-harvest losses. SSG. UNICEF Foundation laud treatment of 76 Kanu teenagers. Hashtag end bad governance. Protest. Kanu secures freedom. Rehabilitates 76 teenagers. Yusuf molds 25 billion naira SMEs loan to boost local economy. Ogun to adopt new national energy policy for industrial growth. Contactless passport application system app usage commences December 1st. Ebonyi diaspora group cautions Nwifuru against construction of new airport amidst poverty. Police foil kidnap attempt by bandits, rescue 14 victims. Hardship. Kazero, Emirates Council distributes a 33 million naira worth of food. Police arrest witch doctor, suspect for armed robbery, kidnapping in Anambra. Police in Nasarawa arrest suspect for defrauding job seekers. Akwa Ibom orders approved into boarding schools after viral video on poor meals. Delta Monarch urges approval of security agencies aiding oil theft. Lagos State takes over EFCC forgery case against Alakija, daughter-in-law. Minister lists poor power supply, others as obstacles to business growth. Minister lists poor power supply, others as obstacles to business growth. PSC lost detective for rejecting 174 million naira bribe, recovering 10 million naira from commuters. US FDI inflow to Nigeria has increased, says Consul General. And that's the much we can take from the Guardian newspaper this morning. You are listening to newspaper headlines on EBEONADI103.5 FM. Remember that you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS or WhatsApp messages on 080-6579-6599. From the Guardian newspaper this morning, we flip over to the leadership newspaper. 16 days of activism. Foundation launches femicide tracker. What stops policies from succeeding? Food security. 300 Kwara schools own farms. Women protest over 262 husbands, children in prison. FCT urged to prioritize trade licenses for relocated spare parts dealers. Niger releases 400 million naira for AGRA, targets 300,000 farmers. NWC Youth Alliance accuses DSP of hijacking composition of management. Multi-sectoral approach will help gender policies. Minister Emami condemns attack on Chevron pipelines. ECOWAS plan international sign pact to address girls' rights. Stakeholders explore new frameworks for independent monitoring of NSIP. Minister urges young innovators to lead Nigeria's future growth. Stakeholders endorse a plan to unlock 33 trillion naira livestock economy. 268,000 internally displaced persons scattered all over Southeast. Kalo. Civil society organizations tax NACON on transparent disbursement of 2023 Hajj refund, tackling vote buying proactively. Experts highlight parental controls to protect vulnerable children online. Federal government, Kasima, extolled Dangote over sponsoring of Kanu Fair. Experts to discuss challenges, opportunities for SDGs at climate conference. I won't rest until Nigeria feel economic impact. Tinubu calls for strengthened funding for Nigeria's space program. Alake gives MIREMCO chairman 3 months ultimatum. Governor Yusuf begins recertification of CFO in Kanu. 160,000 children living with HIV, NACA. 16 days of activism. World leaders worry over Nigeria's gender-based violence rate. Nigeria. Still on the stories making the headlines on the leadership newspaper this morning. Kanu Revenue Agency seals Max Air. Others over 431 million naira tax liabilities. Nigeria would have been better if P2B won 2023 election. Abaribe. Group trains 1,500 North Central youths on tech. No housing allocations for 15,000 soldiers recruited annually, acting army chief tells Senate. Group trains. We've taken this. Acting chief of army staff seeks Senate support to secure Nigeria. Federal government launches Agora project, contradicting what we stand for. One, FCT approves 995 million naira for digital education, 550 tons of fertilizer for farmers. Troops conduct clearance operations in Southeast, kill IPOB members. Lagos government to partner EUACC to boost green financing, technology transfer. 2027, residents push for Ambode's return as Lagos governor. Tinubu hails a 3.46% GDP growth, promises improved living standards. Court sentences man to 12-year jail term for killing wife. Minimum wage. Cross River workers churn Governor Otu's appeal. Begin warning strike. Federal government defends borrowings amid surplus revenue reports. 32 feared killed in the fresh bandits attack on a Benue community. Outrage as Nigerian TikTokers baby weight gain product sparks safety concerns. Outrage as Nigerian TikTokers baby weight gain product sparks safety concerns. Ondo AG asks lottery operations to regularize activities or risk penalties. Customs intercepts 20,000 liters of petrol from smugglers in Ogun. Ebonyi women protest demand release of 262 husbands, children from prison. Police parade 523 suspected kidnappers, cattle rustlers, car snatchers, others in Kaduna. Scores hospitalized after free medical outreach in Abia. Banks, others raise 2.7 trillion naira from capital market, says SEC. Oyo school deserted over students, residents clash. EFCC amends $35.4 million money laundering charge against Binance. Ex-rugby player Brenda Mullin jailed for 3 years over £570,000 bank theft. Oyo school deserted. We've taken this. Still on the stories making the headlines on the leadership newspaper this morning. UK sanctions 30 Russian shadow fleet vessels. Nigerian Security Civil Defense Corps arrests 2 suspected vandals in Kanu. Oil spill from ruptured NMPCL pipeline devastates rivers communities. Christmas wish promotion. How to make your festive dreams come true. Police arrest 4 teenagers for alleged rape of girl in Adamawa. Champions League. Vinicius out of Real Madrid. Liverpool clash over injury. Prosecutor seeks 20-year sentence for Frenchman who allowed 40 men rape wife. Author of A Woman of Substance dies at 91. Coordinated drone activity detected over 3 US Air Force bases in UK. Netanyahu okay ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. Nigerian girls, women still live in fear despite BAPP law. Others, coalition. Taraba Varsity loses 3 lecturers in 48 hours. 8 migrants die in Greece boat mishap. Nigerians' unemployment rate rises to 4.3%. SEC alerts public over illegal cryptocurrency trading firm. SEC, we've taken this. Driver killed, police escort injured as gunmen kidnap Akwa Ibom businessman. Nigeria's GDP grows by 3.46% in quarter 3. 1 dies, 3 injured as DHL cargo plane crashes near Lutna Airport. Onoge, Edwin Clark berates ex-president Buhari, praises CJN Kekere Ekun. Driver escapes death at 40 feet container falls on car in Lagos. And that's the much we can take from the leadership newspaper this morning. Remember that you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS or WhatsApp messages on 08065796599. From the leadership newspaper, we'll flip over to Vanguard newspaper. You will pay huge price for allowing illegal migrants into US. Trump vows to punish Canada on day one. Federal government laws NLRC for contribution to nation's growth. Anambra attracts $500 million of funding commitments, strategic partnerships. Customs arrests 34 illegal migrants, seizes smuggled goods. Mixed reactions, trails move to privatize Port Harcourt, Warri, Kaduna refineries. Unemployment rate falls to 4.3% in Q2 2024. GDP growth figures. More work needs to be done. Tinubu. 2027 opposition parties more. Granite alliance against Tinubu. Sit at home persists despite Simon Ekpa's arrest. PDP crisis. Damagun demand by elections for 27 vacated seats in Rivers Assembly. How an aspirant gave each delegate $30,000 during 2022 PDP primary. Dele Momodu. Protest rocks Cross River PDP Secretariat over ousted chairman. Atiku. Record as head of Nigeria's economic team unparalleled PDP. Atiku's record as head of Nigeria's economic team unparalleled PDP. You must return every penny, HOS tells civil servants receiving salaries abroad. NMPC Customs FIRS makes 37 trillion naira exceed revenue targets. 3 newest countries in the world. 5 African countries with the highest billionaires. Naira depreciates to 1,770 naira per dollar in parallel market. Herdsmen kill 30 in separate Benue attacks. Driver escaped death as 40-feet container falls on car in Lagos. Saving costs. Shopping malls go empty as shoppers adopt free delivery options. Petrol 58% price differences fuels smuggling to neighboring countries. Simon Ekpa, it's time to restore peace in Igbo land. IPOB's lawyer. And that's the mush we can take from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Still on the stories making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers this morning. From the Vanguard newspaper, we'll flip over to the Punch newspaper. Students bullying colleagues risk indefinite suspension. Federal government. Sex for grades. Federal government orders varsities to set up help centers. Opeboro dissolves Edo Local Government Service Commission. Evercare Hospital. MDCs. Promise world-class health care. Ondo poll, 6,000 Nigerian Security Civil Defense Corps personnel protest unpaid allowances. Tinubu wants more funding for Nigeria's space program. Students, we've taken this. But still on the stories making the headlines on the Punch newspaper this morning, federal government shortlist 11 directors for permanent secretary appointments. Bronu flood victims get federal government palliatives. 268,000 displaced by natural disasters in Southeast Kalo. National Assembly questions Tinubu's loan request as customs. FIRS surpass revenue targets. 392 oil thieves arrested. 8.1 million barrel crude recovered. Navy. How suspected foreign marauders invaded Benue, killed 30 community leaders. Pensions have outperformed my predecessor, says Adeleke. Kaduna plans 50 new schools, targets 200,000 out-of-school children. So, stopping mother to child HIV transmission still challenging. Federal government. Ishekiri chief condemns militants' attack on Chevron's pipelines. JAPA workers on federal government payroll resigning amid probe HOCSF. Lagos State University Department suggests a way to curb JAPA. Olubadan stops planned Iyalode installation. That's the much we can take from the Punch newspaper this morning. From the Punch newspaper, we'll flip over to the Daily Post newspaper. Nigerian military kills several IPOB members, recovers bombs, pump action guns. Cash scarcity, POS operators, banks in blame game as Nigerians suffer. Senator Abaribe welcomes arrest of Simon Ekpa. Tinubu's tax reforms favorable to all states. Former FIRS chairman Nami. Madagali people of Northern Adamawa seek first-class chiefdom. Corporate Governance Foundation for Success, Sustainability of Telecoms Industry in Nigeria. Corporate Governance Foundation for Success, Sustainability of the Telecoms Industry in Nigeria. Removal of CCT Chairman Justice Danladi Umar, unconstitutional, Bauchi lawyers. Deputy Superintendent of Corrections, 15 others kidnapped. FIRS, Customs, NMPCL, other agencies exceed 2024 revenue target. Tinubu didn't seek National Assembly's approval for 150 million naira presidential jet. Abaribe. Demsa Traditional Council host Adamawa Quranic recitation competition. More borrowing needed despite improved revenue by agency. Hidden. That's the much we can take from the Daily Post newspaper this morning. Still on the stories making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers this morning from the Daily Post newspaper, we'll flip over to the Nation newspaper. Tinubu excited, experts optimistic over 3.46% quarter 3 GDP growth, while federal government is borrowing by Edun, Bagudu, FIRS boss. Southeast holds 268,000 internally displaced persons in 158 camps. Rivers crisis. Amowele led assembly moves to repeal Commission of Inquiry Law 1999. Fashola, Sagaye, Sans, Supreme Court lottery. Verdict will deepen federalism. Chetima, First Lady, Abbas, others seek action against gender-based violence. Federal government to direct parastatals to accept NYSC members. Lagos 3.07 trillion naira budget skills second reading. National Air Force kills terrorist commanders or fighters in Lake Chad Basin. Gunmen attack vigilance group burn vehicle. Forensic auditors are reconciling 8 trillion naira debt claim counter-claim by NMPCL. Federal. Tinubu urges National Assembly to prioritize space program funding. Alake's marching order to panel. Perform or be fired. Chief of Army Staff Oluyode seeks Senate's support to secure Nigeria. HOCSF Wilson Jack rolls out reforms to rejig civil servant. HOCSF Wilson Jack rolls out reforms to rejig civil service. Okeboro inaugurates appointees, vows to chase criminals out of the state. Governor mourns Edo-born oldest Catholic priest. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Nation newspaper this morning. Still on the Nation newspaper this morning, Ayedati were urged to develop Aroromi Seaside as tourist center. Tunji Ojo to deliver FUTA convocation lecture. University of Ibadan decorates Oyebanji as ambassador. Poultry farmers endorse governor for second term. Our government paid 47 billion naira to pensioners within 2 years, says Adeleke. Why Nigeria needs tech-driven solutions to tackle terrorism, cybercrime by Shetima. Tinubu's biography blueprint for renewed hope. Tomori. Others seek surveillance, prevention plans to combat public health threats. Lawyer to Ajayi, don't contest results. Brand marks World Toilet Day. Sanwo-Olu 6 National Energy Renaissance at Power Forum. Now fund to hit 20 billion naira loan disbursement this week. Firm launches initiative unveils a digital solution. EcoBank drives real estate funding with design and build expo. Council chief, APC chief condemn attacks on pipelines. Experts discuss sustainability development. That's the much we can take from the Nation newspaper this morning. Still on the stories making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers this morning. From the Nation newspaper, we'll flip over to This Day newspaper. Tinubu ecstatic as a 94.43% non-oil contributions grows GDP by 3.46% in Q3. Chetima canvasses tech-driven strategy to combat terrorism, border security. National Assembly falls federal government's appetite for foreign loans despite surpassing revenue targets. More loans, more pains, and the seasons of discontent. Still on the stories making the headlines on This Day newspaper this morning. Probing Obaseki's government, small screen to cover Monday Okpeboro's incompetence. Olobodiyan, subsidy removal, Naira floating brought Nigerians to their knees. Oil price falls over 2% on possible Israel-Lebanon peace deal. Ulisa Abakoba predicts Nigeria's budget to hit 100 trillion naira by 2026. Sani, lack of quality education, infrastructure, key challenges to North. Tinubu tax National Assembly on proper funding of a space program. Still on the stories making the headlines on This Day newspaper this morning. ECOWAS launches electronic certificate of origin to facilitate trade. Stock market down 0.21% on profit taken in GTCO. 29 orders of reforms and down to show elections as a PMAWCA chairman. How 6 oil companies earned $38.5 billion revenue in 12 months amid a drop in sector's contribution to GDP. Cooking gas out of reach for Nigerians as prices soars 58.68% YOY. Banks customers grow as maximum lending rate hits 30.28%, 22 months high. Kickstone Bank rewards loyal customers in Welcome Back campaign promo. Still on the stories making the headlines on This Day newspaper this morning. Liquidation of Heritage Bank PLC. Matters arising. Soludo changing gears for Anambra's progress with 2025 budget. Obasa blinded by his ambition. Role of academics in electoral frauds. Daniel Biwala has come to judgment. How Abula Ajayi lost woefully to Governor Aye Datiwa. You are listening to newspaper headlines on EBEONADI103.5 FM. When I go for a short break, when we come back, we'll continue on the stories making the headlines on This Day newspaper. Please stay with us.
In the 21st century is gone. When you have EBEONADI103.5 FM, here, what are you celebrating today? Birthdays, wedding anniversary, traditional wedding, chieftaincy conferment, or fala, etc. Approach EBEONADI103.5 FM Ogidi today to document your event. EBEONADI103.5 FM offers you live coverage of your events on radio and social media, video and photo coverages, feature on magazines, photo books, and others. News coverage of political and other events. Take this offer and receive a complete coverage. For more information, call or WhatsApp 08065796599 or you visit EBEONADI103.5 FM Ogidi opposite Obunike Boys inside Leovin Residency Hotel Ogidi.
Are you married or single? If we are recording Namunye, you can afford it by your non-living. You wish to work on a relationship. Netanyahu from the beginning of a disappointed for Madana. I used to seek a lasting solution to problem in a marriage team of a relationship. The massive issue of the problem on lab clinic 103.5 EBEONADI103.5 Search no more, but another lab venture, the lab doctor, and a lab clinic into 103.5 EBEONADI103.5. You should want him when a marriage team of a relationship that is a marriage heart-to-heart interaction. People with us to want him when a love life begins into the bed. But now one lab keep us together. Now 103.5 EBEONADI103.5. Do you need to be hooked up or are you hooked already? When you see the people who are you hooked to, you need help to engage in a serious relationship. To line a lab clinic 103.5 EBEONADI103.5. Put your regard, can also share each of the
EBEONADI103.5 FM Nabakowa production. My business. When I was telling the SDJ radio drama, here we go. Akụkọ ihe mere n'ime ogbe. Ejije radio drama Eriko Ghana Dialogue every Monday 8 o'clock p.m. with a repeat broadcast on Saturday 3 o'clock p.m. Now, EBEONADI103.5 FM. If you know by finish of Residency Hotels Leofino Ogidi. Ogidi's #1 place for all type of events. Burunia Dewa from corporate to social gathering or any type of parties, even end of year parties on the club. We have air-conditioned hall and outdoor space of a very good capacity. When Nebiano come, let us celebrate your event in style. Residency Hotel Leofino Ogidi. If you are somebody with a taste, when Emmanuel back in the I want delicious meals, drinks and spirits brewed in different parts of the world. For booking, call 081-45-67-8901. One more. Come, let's make your event come through the way it's dream or your plan of wire. Residency Hotels Leofino Ogidi, Ogidi's best place for premium events. Ask for Nana Magoroge, Mwakoziano Mehagi.
the students in higher institution of higher learning is enormous. How can young people in our schools navigate through their challenges? Campus Gist on EBEONADI 103.5 FM Ogidi is the time when young people connect to discuss their situations, technological development, academic session, entertainment, interviews, and others that will enable them to navigate through their situations. Campus Gist come to you on EBEONADI 103.5 FM on Wednesdays 2 p.m. and Saturday 5 p.m. Call us on WhatsApp on 08065796599. Campus Gist, Campus Life Update.
Everything you do is fine. We are the
Ogidi Kwenu, Ndogidi Kwenu, Adogidi Beauty Show is here again. Adogidi 2024. Nauna makweva pole na keep as well. Ija wele, are you up to 18 and above? Register now and win up to 1 million naira. Ebunwa Muluno Gidi Land or Wadiana. Come and represent your heritage where beauty, brain, and culture blends, empowering the women, enhancing excellence, beauty with a purpose, supporting education, and securing a future. For forms and inquiries, please call or WhatsApp 080-6329-0766 or 090-13566-263. Social media platforms at Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at Adogidi Beauty Pageant. Forms are available at all residency hotels nationwide. And the deadline for the registration is on the 10th of December 2024. Adogidi Beauty Pageant Show. Don't miss out. Arise. Kunye.
In the world of sports, the excitement no be here. Whether a match day for Premier League, Serie A, Italian Arab League, talking about the tiki-taka in the field of play for sports and for EBEONADI 103.5 FM. We go give you insights for other sports like basketball, boxing, mixed martial arts, track and field. For EBEONADI Sports Yarn, we dey yarn you as they be for the world sport with better activities. Make you join me, Abdullahi Ahmed, on EBEONADI 103.5 FM for your sports yarn for every Wednesday by 3 p.m. and every Friday by 1 p.m. for your sports baby.
You're welcome back to EBEONADI 103.5 FM, and we apologize for that little break in transmission. We are back to serve you better, and this is welcoming you back to newspaper headlines on EBEONADI 103.5 FM. Remember that you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS or WhatsApp messages on 080-6579-6599. We are on to this day newspaper. Role of academics in electoral frauds. A Daniel Biwara has come to judgment. another election, another headache. Economic. If it's not broken, why fix it? Brings Nigeria's proposed Coast Guard under scrutiny. Part Ubilo's rising profile in UK. Nigerian wins Chinese singing competition. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis of the Kemi Badenoch in many Nigerians beyond nationality and patriotism. And that's the much we can take from this day newspaper this morning. From this day newspaper, we'll flip over to Nigerian Tribune newspapers. On Nigerian Tribune, Foundation launches femicide tracker for 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. ACF gets 7-day ultimatum to lift suspension on Sherman. 2025 budget, senators query federal government's borrowings despite improved revenue targets. Bauchi lawyers criticize Senate over Danladi Omar's CCT removal. Shetima direct technology adoption to combat terrorism, cyber crimes. PDP facilitates article on birthday. Oyo government embarks on mass administration of medicine against river blindness. Governor Kepas presents a 429.9 billion naira 2025 budget to Taraba Assembly. Diaspora group warns against Dangote refinery monopoly. Obey court order, pay our entitlements. Oshun pensioners urge Adeleke. Bauchi government, UNFPA flag off 16 days of activism to end violence against women, girls. Governor Mufwang presents a 471 billion naira 2025 budget to Plateau Assembly. That's the much we can take from the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And that will also mark the conclusion of all that we have for you on this particular edition of Newspaper Headlines on EBEONADI 103.5 FM. Remember that you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS or WhatsApp messages on 080-6579-6599. Now we flip over to our WhatsApp portal for reactions. This morning we have a message. This one is coming from a famous Christian. He's joining us from Ifte Village, Aguluzibo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have a message. This one is coming from Agonabo. He's joining us from Ofa, Aguluzibo. And he says, Netanyahu ceasefire with Hezbollah is a welcome development. Let's stop it before it escalates into using nuclear weapons misuse. And in Nigeria, we are living in jeopardy and incessant killing and hardships are the reasons behind civil rights disobedience. Simon Eba, they are not the echoes of a sit at home. Let them release Mazen and the Kano to stop the sit at home. All this mayhem in Nigeria lingering because some politicians are benefiting from it. Continuous arrest and the release of continue arrest and release all oil theft is the reason why criminalization can't stop. Troops killing IPOB and terms them terrorists, barbaric and highly condemnable. You have by well-meaning Nigerians. We are watching as things unfold. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Still on our WhatsApp portal this morning, we have this message. This one is coming from Mwaloto Patrick from Monteje, and he says, I, the minister, is eminently correct by listing power supply and others as obstacles for Nigerian growth. And he says, if not for any other thing, I commend him for admitting the cluelessness of the federal government, but the unfortunate aspect of it is that we were not told the name of the minister that dropped the hint so that we will be able to know whether he is the minister of power whose ministry is not performing or not. Secondly, he is indirectly telling Nigerians that the present administration of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, in which he is a part and a parcel, has grossly failed the Nigerians to the extent that it cannot be redeemed. So, that why is he complaining? My only advice to him is to consider the options of resignation if he knows nothing to do, because nas no so ifele no si ifele ka ada ifele mma. Okay, no si ifele ka ada de ifele mma. Thanks. Okay, this one is coming from Waloto Patrick from Onteja. Okay, anyway, the papers we get to read every morning, you can grab some copies to get more details from what is being, told in the stories. But we still have a message. This one is coming from Valentine Edene from Umpo, and he says most Igbo leaders can be enslaved with money. We have two separatists in Nigeria, Sunday Igboho and Maz Nnamdi Kanu. Everyone knows that Igboho was arrested, but my question is, where is he? If you don't know, all Yoruba prominent men and their leaders fought for his release, and he is now free. Come to Nnamdi Kanu, all Igbo leaders turned against their brother, while we all know that arresting Simon Ekpa is not the end of the sit at home in Southeast, but to release Nnamdi Kanu, there is a saying, not that the crippled one does not know what to say, but there is the one he will talk. People will ask him to stand up by his feet and walk. Okay, the cripple one does not know what to say, but there is the one that he will say. People will ask him to stand up by his feet and walk. Valentine Edene from Mumbo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. From our WhatsApp portal, we'll flip over to our SMS portal. This morning, we have this message. This one is coming from Okemko Adeze, and he says, very soon Naira will die off, and we will use as a medium of and we will use as a medium of exchange. Economy need to be focused on. Things are getting worse daily. Okemko Adeze, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. It's coming from Mayor Onin Jikoka, and he says, herdsmen kill scores in Benue. When will it end? Is when the inhabitants are finished that the federal government will send their security men there. They are just bush borrowing money that they don't pay back. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. This one is coming from Onyudo from Nimo, and it says a 40-feet container fell on a car in Lagos. This is a recurring incident every time in Lagos. The FRSC should be serious about the safety of these containers on Lagos roads. You need to see these containers on rickety trailers. This is coming from Onyudo from Nimo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Still on our SMS portal this morning, we have this message is coming from Godwin Anyebunam from Umumbo. I am Melum local government area of Anambra State, and he says, why Nigeria should continue borrowing as accredited to Edu is a slap on the faces of Nigerians. A giant of Africa should not allow itself to be made a laughing stock in Africa. Why do Nigeria go a borrowing while the resources are available for the people to smile? Godwin Anyebunam from Umumbo. I am Melum local government area of Anambra State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have a message. This one is coming from Honorable Onyedeka Osakwe, and he says, shame to for now being able shame to the country for not being able to have even one refinery despite all borrowing. Our borrowing goes a sorrowing. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, this is the spot where we'll call it a day on this particular edition of newspaper headlines on EBEONADI103.5 FM. Remember, it comes your way weekdays in the morning. Once is 7 o'clock, so keep a date. And don't touch the dial of